Hello, I'm Denny Stockdale, and I'm here with Deanna Reiter, who has written 2 amazing books. The first one is Dancing with Divinity, and it has a ton of wonderful affirmations in there. The second book is The 9 Scoundrels. And so welcome to the show today.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. Let's start talking, first of all, about Dancing with Divinity. How did you come up with that title?
Well, I was actually at a retreat out in California, and I don't know if the title came first or the idea for the book, but I remember I was walking back to my campsite and Dancing with Divinity. The idea came, that title, and I was like, oh, that's fantastic. I like it. I like alliteration, so that the 2 Ds are great. And then I had been reading a lot of affirmation books, Louise Hay's among others, and I've been using positive affirmations since I was in high school. I was a long-distance competitive runner for a number of years, and my coaches were very big on positive thinking and using visualization before all of our races. So I had always been interested in it for years and years. It helped me a lot in my racing, and then I got into psychology more and applied the positive thinking to all aspects of my life. So here I am on this retreat, the title came, and then I thought, oh, what if we did positive affirmations and had them with negative emotions? So what I did with the book was alphabetize more than 300 negative emotions. When you're feeling sad, angry, when something's been stolen from you, when you've misplaced something, whatever it might be. I spent about 1.5 years on it, and any type of negative emotion that I experienced in that time, or I'd ask friends, you know, different negative emotions. We got very specific, more than 300, and then had affirmations for each one, so that when you are experiencing something negative, all you have to do is identify what the negative emotion is, look it up, find the positive affirmations, read through them a few times, and then it's like switching the channel on that negativity that's coming up. So I found it a very useful tool for me. Even in the later stages of the book, I remember losing something and going to that spot in the book and seeing, are these affirmations enough for what I'm experiencing? And they were very good. I was happy with them, and I amped them up even more. So I kind of did that a few different times throughout and just made sure, is this the absolute most and best affirmations that I can come up with for each one?
Sure. Yeah, I love the way you alphabetize those. It's almost like the A to Z of affirmations, and I had never seen that depth or that level of affirmations before. There's a couple of letters missing, but I won't talk about those because I want the people to go out and actually read your book and figure out which ones are missing.
Yes.
You also talk in there about 5 treasures, and I really liked those. Tell me about the 5 treasures. 5
treasures are things that we carry with us every day, and it's treasures that can't be used up. You know, we always have them with us. One of the 5 treasures is gratitude. When we express gratitude for whatever we have in our life, even if it's not the most ideal situation, we can focus in on what we really want. And another one of the 5 treasures is realizing that you create your own reality. So looking at whatever situation, maybe you have a job in today's economy, that's a very good thing. So if it's not your ideal job, be grateful that you have one. And then figure out, what is my ideal job? And start getting very specific on that and taking the steps toward that. Another one of the 5 treasures is listening to your heart, listening to that energy. I think as a society we do so much out of obligation, and it's not benefiting us, and it's most likely not benefiting the person that we're hoping to benefit.
Absolutely.
You know? So that's another one. Also, to tap into the universal energy and use that as you're manifesting whatever it is that you want in your reality. And remembering the importance of the breath. Breathing, moving to more depth. In our society, we use a lot of electronics. We are very distracted. On a day-to-day level, we're always doing the next thing, and to just slow down and breathe and have that time to let answers come to us or move into our intuitive senses more can really help out everything in our life. Yeah,
I really like all the 5 senses. I think one of my favorite ones is gratitude, because even at my ripe old age, I still forget to say thanks once in a while. Not too often, but I realize that everybody wants to be appreciated. And so I think when we say thank you to somebody, that it makes a huge difference. And when we say thank you to ourselves through gratitude, or I'll bet you even keep a gratitude journal, don't you?
I've kept one, yes, exactly. And I've listed every day things that I'm grateful for. I think it can change the energy so much. When you are upset about, let's say the toast got burnt this morning, and you're upset about that, and it was your last piece, and you have to scrape off the burntness off the toast, or whatever it is, you have a piece of toast, and if we can be grateful for that, then we realize we have food. Or whatever the situation might be. The gratitude definitely changes things around. Yeah,
and you've traveled all over the world, not only over in the 48 states, but over 40 countries. And I'll bet you've seen a lot of different situations. A lot of poverty. I have seen a lot, and we are very fortunate in America to have what we have. And it is amazing. It's amazing. And I've seen a lot of poverty in the U.S. As well. So, I mean, just anything and everything we should be so grateful for. And not even material items, but grateful that we can breathe or see the sky, or whatever it might be. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, and I think one of the themes that runs through both books is, or one of the lessons you're trying to impart, is helping people find happiness and joy with whatever their economic situation is. And I'll bet as you've traveled, you've probably seen some poor people, or what we would call poor, that are extremely happy with their situation. Absolutely. I lived in Turkey, in Istanbul, Turkey, for a year, and that was a huge eye-opener, to be part of a culture and to really get to know that culture from a standpoint of working and living right in the culture among the Turks. And they are so happy. You know, they love their family. They really appreciate some of the little things in life that sometimes we don't think so much about. I used to be a teacher, 7th grade science, and I remember coming back from Turkey the year after I came back, and we were doing a project where they had to color leaf patterns and name the leaves and all the different parts of the leaf and the different types. And I remember some students did not want to share crayons. And I think some of them were even the classroom crayons. They didn't want to share those. And I stopped the whole lesson, and I talked about, in Turkey, they would be so glad to share. If they opened up a package of crackers or cookies or something like that, and there was a room full of people, they would offer to everyone in that room, and if it meant they didn't get one, that was fine, you know, because they got to share. And I told the students this example, and I said, it's a crayon. Someone else using it is really not taking away very much from your crayon, so let's
share it.
Yeah.
You know, it was a huge teaching moment, and just amazing. You know, just the different aspects and perceptions of cultures.
Yeah, yeah, that's fascinating. You know, and you know, just the sharing, because when they share, they actually gain more because they're gaining a friend and somebody that they can do things with.
Yes.
And communicate with or have a conversation with, and you know, I think that's huge.
It is. It's a huge opportunity for them, and to be able to share anything or help someone out or whatever, it's great. So.
Yeah. Well, your book, Dancing with Divinity, is a great book for people that want affirmations and want to lift up their spirits or actually focus on some maybe behaviors. And out of that book, you created another book. In fact, at the end of that book, you promised us another book.
Yes.
And you came out with the 9 Scoundrels. Tell us about the 9 Scoundrels.
The 9 Scoundrels are 9 common patterns of sabotage that we have in our day-to-day world. And these patterns are things that can be very subtle, that we might not realize at all, things that we have had since we were young children, and things that have prohibited us from doing certain things. They all have purposes, so there are some benefits to them, but more than anything, they've held us back from what we really, really want in life. So example of one of the 9 scoundrels is complacent scoundrel. The scoundrel that keeps going with the situation that is not ideal. And the complacent scoundrel can be very helpful because it gives you a great sense of loyalty. It helps you to really stick through things, the good times and the bad times. You're not jumping ship right away when something bad comes up. But the thing about the complacent scoundrel is you're thinking that things are good enough even though you know that they're not. One of the examples I gave for that scoundrel is a broken window. And the complacent scoundrel says, this broken window doesn't let in that much rain.
Right.
You know, obviously we want to fix the broken window.
Right.
We don't want to leave the hole. So there are things in our life that when we realize how we can change them, make the changes needed. And I definitely don't suggest that people end their marriages, quit their jobs, leave the country, whatever it might be. I have them look very deeply at the situation, write the pros and cons out, you know, see if there's some attitude shift that needs to change for you, if you need to change perception before you just throw everything out the door.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Yeah. And there's an NRT technique you talk about that I think pertains to that, which is the negative response technique.
The negative response technique is used when you are using an affirmation and it's not quite hitting right. It feels like, you say, someone who says, I am beautiful or I am handsome. And someone thinks, no, 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 I'm not at all. And what's the first thought that really comes up with that? No, I'm not good looking, or I would have a partner, whatever it might be. That'd be the first negative response. And then you look at that negative response and come up with another affirmation, and you keep whittling it down. It's kind of like you're volleying back and forth with yourself until you hit the affirmation that's going to work for you.
Okay.
So that, because a lot of people will use affirmations and say, it feels like a lie, this isn't doing anything for me. And that gives you an opportunity to figure out what affirmation really can work for you.
Okay.
And then with the scoundrels, I have a technique called the over technique, where it's a 4-step process of how you can get rid of any pattern that's not working in your life. So, for example, the complacent scoundrel, if there's something that's not working, you can observe, verify, examine, and release. So you go through the 4 steps on each of them and look deeply at each of those steps and how can you let that pattern go out of your life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm an acronym guy. And so when I saw that, I just thought, that is so cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell us about those again. What is it? Observe?
Observe,
verify,
examine, and release.
Okay.
So observe what it is that's not working in your life, and observe it without judgment, as if it's your best friend that you're observing. So it could be a negative statement, it could be a negative pattern, whatever it might be. Just an observation. Take a look at that, and then verify. Is that pattern really a problem for you? Is it something that you're really doing? So making that verification next. And then examine. How has it helped you? How has it hurt you? And going back to when that pattern might have started. Because usually if we look at that beginning point of why did we first start doing that, it can uncover so many layers of things. And if we can change around that first time, that point of origin, then we can just change layers really quickly. So if we go back, and then that last one, release. So just letting go of it, replacing it with what needs to be replaced. And a lot of times on that release stage, people keep releasing and releasing for years. You know, they get frustrated with it. Oh, I did that again. Why did I do that again? And instead of having any frustration around it, you have to realize that some of these patterns or the negative thoughts that we've had have been there since we were young kids. So possibly decades we've been having that thought or having that sabotage pattern. And it's going to take more than a day or a month or maybe a year to get rid of it and get that out of your life. So when you are aware of it, be happy you're aware. That's a huge stage. And then you might have to kind of play the game afterwards. Okay, I did that again. What could I have done differently? And play that scenario out in your mind and keep doing that. Even if there's some backpedaling that needs to be done because of, oops, I did it again type thing happens, do the backpedaling and then move on from there, because it's huge learning steps that can happen with that.
Oh, absolutely. I think with the awareness, that's the first step in making any behavioral change or change for the better, is
Absolutely.
Raising our awareness. And sometimes I think that just needs to be celebrated.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I love the way you've laid out the book, where you open it up with how people can check in. You have a section on checking in, kind of like, this is what the book's going to be about, and this is how you can get the most benefit from the book.
Yes.
And then each chapter, you talk about the scoundrel in 2 or 3 pages, and then you talk about the comments that people might, what might I hear?
Yep.
I mean, out of my mouth or in my thoughts or wherever it comes from. And then you have some, the over technique to identify some of the things that are in that scoundrel, and the affirmations.
Yes.
And then I think the real nuggets are beyond all that. Although those are all big nuggets, but you have like 3 to 5 or more tips at the end of each scoundrel on how to deal with that scoundrel.
Yes.
And one of my favorites, and I don't remember which scoundrel it was for, but was to play.
Yes. To play and have fun, and that was one, because I think as adults we get locked into this pattern. We've got to make money, we've got to play this role in life, whatever it might be, and we forget to have fun and to just take a moment and appreciate whatever it is. And kids and pets will help us to do both, to remind us to play. So those are 2 suggestions I have, to get around kids or pets, animals, to see how they're playing. Squirrels even. We've got squirrels all over the place. They're playing all the time, you know, to just bring that fun aspect into your life. And when I was writing both of the books, I set it up so that it could be very much like a reference book, either one of them, that you can pick it up, flip through, and find what you need. And you don't need to, you can go through the book for hours and hours and read through the whole thing from cover to cover, either of them, or just find that information that you need and then go about your day, you know? And so I set it up where I tried every possible angle of how can we really change what needs to be changed and make it accessible for everybody. The Dancing with Divinity, the positive affirmations, I put a compact disc with that so that people can play that in their car. They can play it at night when they're sleeping and have those affirmations over and over and over play and sink in, you know? And then the Scoundrels, the same thing. You can, if you hit that awareness and get frustrated, and I did it again, go back to that chapter, read some part of it again and see, okay, what else can you do now? You're constantly taking steps forward and uncovering new things. And so you'll see things differently in your life on a different day or even in a different hour after some situation happens.
Oh, yeah.
And so to be able to keep coming back to the books is such a good option for your life.
Yeah.
You know?
As I was reading through the 9 Scoundrels, I identified with almost all of them in some way. And I thought, oh, there's a little part of me in there. And then I started thinking, is there a common theme, or is there one that's more prevalent or more noticeable, or maybe, yeah, we'll start with that.
Okay, okay. Well, there are some scoundrels that you can see within, there are people that you can see within a certain scoundrel setting. One of the 9 scoundrels that I didn't mention before, the complacent scoundrel I mentioned, martyr scoundrel is one. It's a person that's putting others before themselves always, to the point where it's depleting them. And I give the example of the airplane principle. If you're in an airplane, you're to put on your own oxygen mask before assisting anyone else. And if you think about that, if you were helping other people on the plane, you would get to maybe a dozen and then you'd pass out and you're no help to anyone because you ran out of air. But what if you put on your own and you took care of your own need first? You could save the entire plane. So that's the example with martyr. I see the martyr scoundrel very clearly in mothers. They are putting their children's needs, their spouse's needs, and other people first before them. It happens quite a lot. And we just have to keep coming back to that airplane principle. And I'm definitely saying within this chapter that it's great to do things for other people. It's so wonderful to be generous with your time and your talents, but you have to realize what's your bottom line. What do you need to fulfill you so that you can help everyone else? And I think that's an important question that we all need to ask. What's your bottom line? What do you need to make sure you have in your day so that you can be the most effective for anyone else? For me, I like to be able to eat 3 meals a day, and I like to have at least 6 hours of sleep. That's going to be a minimum.
Yeah.
And I like to have 30 minutes in my day at whatever point where I'm alone, whether that's meditating, sleeping, writing, going for a walk, whatever it is. I've learned in my life that I can't be with other people every moment of my waking life. I've got to have 30 minutes to be by myself. So I found those bottom lines. As long as those are taken care of, I'm good to go all day long, helping people and doing whatever I need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of your exercises along the same lines is, I think, asking what's not working. And I think when people can identify that and then stop doing that, which they can get some help with from your book.
Yes. Yes. Asking that question, what's not working in my life? And it could be a relationship that's not working. It could be a job. It could be whatever it might be. When we start taking a look at that and really asking ourselves and really being honest with ourselves, not saying, oh, this is good enough, you know, but saying what's really not working. I realized a while back something that wasn't working for me was not allowing enough time to get places. Like, I would realize I need 20 minutes. I would leave exactly 20 minutes before I needed to get wherever. And that didn't work at all. I was anxious about the time. I was anxious driving. It was stressful. And so I realized, okay, if I leave 35, 40 minutes, I can take my time driving. I don't worry about other drivers. I can get there and relax and get into the mindset that I want to be. I'll be more effective when I go do whatever it is I'm going to do. I'll be happier. And so that was one shift that I had to make, and it took a while, and there were still times after I really identified it that I'd still be like, 20 minutes, gotta go, you know.
Yeah.
And then I said, oh gosh, I did it again, you know, but it's all right, because I was fully aware that I wasn't allowing enough time, and then the next time I did. You know, and I think it's a small example, you know, but I think we do it.
Oh,
and so,
most of us do at some point or another.
And so whatever it might be, see how you can shift those little things in life to make everything work more smoothly.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so it sounds like you actually have learned a lot about your own life from writing this book, and I'm sure it's had a huge impact on the people that have read the book.
Yes, yes.
So tell us, where can people get the book and more information about you?
The books are available on my website. It's dayawati.com, www.dayawati is DAYAWATI.com. They're available that way. I sell them in some of the small bookstores in Minnesota as well.
Okay. All right. Well, great.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for being with me today.
Thank you.
And this is Denny Stockdale, and thanks for listening in today and watching us. And I invite you to read a book. It could change a life. And encourage your kids to do the same.